Peer review is rhetorical, and peer review is an exchange. These are two things that we strongly emphasize in the WEX Guide to Peer Review, included as part of this Composing for Public Audiences MOOC. I want to draw your attention to a couple of things here, because the way that we do peer review in this MOOC is really crucial and might be a little bit different from how you've done peer review in the past if you've had that opportunity. At its very basic, peer review tends to be general assessment. So you receive something from someone else and you assess it. You say what's good and what's not so good. That's how I've done peer review in the past. But the way that we want you to do peer review for Composing for Public Audiences is much richer than this simple assessment of peers' writing. As you go through the WEX Guide to Peer Review, you'll notice over and over again this emphasis on peer review as an exchange. One thing that I really want to draw out here as well is the way graciousness is talked about in the WEX Guide to Peer Review. Maybe you're asking yourself, graciousness? I thought I was supposed to be an assessor, somebody who is evaluating and making evaluative comments here on someone's paper. That's true, but also think about the fact that someone else is reviewing your paper as well. And how would you want them to be reviewing your own work? Be thinking about that as you are reviewing someone else's work in turn. This really gets back to the rhetorical nature of peer review and how I really see the way that we talk about peer review in Composing for Public Audiences as something that really benefits you, maybe even more than the person whose work that you are evaluating. I'll get into that in a little bit too, why I think that you are getting more out of peer review than the person who you're reviewing is. But first I want to talk a little bit more in depth about the 3 stages of peer review that we emphasize in this MOOC. So the first is describe. So be very specific about what it is that you are commenting on as a peer reviewer in your review. The second piece is assess. So in addition to, as you'll see, the rubrics that provide you a guide for 1 to 5 scale on evaluating somebody's writing based on the criteria that goes along with each assignment, be thinking about the words that you use that are also a nod toward assessment. So words like good or great or needs improvement. These all signal assessment. The third part of this model is suggest. And this one is where you get to provide actual suggestions for how this person might improve or change or think about changing what they have written. So in addition to just being specific about what it is that you are looking at and reviewing and assessing that, you are also providing some materials, suggestions for additional things to look at inside or outside of the MOOC itself, or actual outlines of plans to go about changing something that you have looked at and want to comment on in this peer review. So altogether, this forms what we call the describe, assess, suggest model. And we really encourage you to follow this model whenever you are creating discursive feedback for peer review, both in Composing for Public Audiences, but also as you go out and do the many forms of public writing, collaborative public writing that you'll be doing outside of this course as well. It's a really effective and generous way of going about peer review because it's creating an exchange, and that's what we really emphasize here. One other thing that I want to mention as you are going through in more depth and reading the WEX Guide to Peer Review and learning about the Describe, Assess, Suggest model is that included with that guide is a sample student's essay that you can actually have the experience of practicing the Describe, Assess, Suggest model of peer review on and comparing that to an example review that we've also included. So you will get the experience of going through the Describe, Assess, Suggest model before actually committing to it for assignment 3. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You'll really want to give yourself some time to read through this guide and also practice doing this too. Earlier I mentioned that this mode of peer review gives you just as much, if not more, as a reviewer than as somebody who's having your work reviewed, because this is really building up as we have throughout all of this MOOC your rhetorical skills. Not only now are you becoming really savvy in your rhetorical writing and how you're writing your peer review, but it's also helping you practice your critical reading skills as well and picking out elements to comment on for those you're reviewing. So really, peer review in this MOOC is not just about giving feedback, though certainly that's a very important element. You're getting feedback on your writing from your peers, but you're also really practicing your peer review skills as well. And we're building in some instruction to help you become better reviewers as well as writers, which are sometimes similar, but sometimes different tasks. We hope that you enjoy this mode of peer review, and as you have questions, as always, please send them our way. Otherwise, we really look forward to the assignments and reviews that you'll be creating later on in this course.